Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for a live reaction and player ratings live stream following Crystal Palace 1, Chelsea 3. My apologies that it took us quite a hot minute to actually go live here, but bloody hell, I had a whole different thumbnail ready already. I was already ready to absolutely slay the living daylights out of Pochettino again. Don't worry, that's still happening. But Conor Gallagher, turn up, won us the game. I don't know how it's happened, but Conor Gallagher in Birmingham last week found his scoring boots, and all of a sudden he went from having 0 goals all season long to having 3 in the space of a couple of days, and I am absolutely buzzing. Now, one of the worst first halves we've ever played. We broke a record that goes back all the way to 2003-04 with the most passes in a half without a shot on target. So that's amazing. But hey, at the end of the day, we won 3 points. Enzo Fernandez at the end could have squared it to Nkunku, but hey, he was like, nah, mate, I'm going to score 2 in 2. Naishi, first of all, thank you for being back on. How do you feel? Because these kind of games are so weird. Like, in a normal season, I say normal, in what we're used to as Chelsea fans, I'd be quite, you can live with a bad performance as long as you get the win. The problem is, when you've been terrible for 2 years straight, and especially this season as well, then on the one hand, you're really happy because you did win. But on the other hand, you're like, if I watch that game, man, and I see our upcoming run, I don't see a lot of positives, but hey, I gotta take what we get, right? Like, it's 3 points. I'm gonna be happy about that, but there is still a lot of issues that I don't know if they will ever be fixed. But how do you see this game now in hindsight, mate?
Yeah, I'm to be honest, I'm just happy that we got the win. That's the most important thing. We got the 3 points. As you said, we don't get more wins that often this season. This past 2 years, we don't really get as many wins that we expected as Chelsea fans, and that there's a massive contrast from the first half to the second half. We literally had one shot on, no, it wasn't even on target. It was literally just one shot. First half. Yeah, and he was just so slow. The football was, I was almost falling asleep in that first half. That Crystal Palace goal actually woke me up a bit, like paid attention more to the game, and I feel after the goal, they kind of reacted, and that's not something you want to do going forward, especially against Man City. You won't have time to react to be 3-4-0 down before you know it. But like I said, I'm just happy we got the 3 points, and you do love late goals, especially 2, and there were 2 amazing goals, especially Enzo's third goal for the third goal.
Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah, I was about to scream at my TV to pass to Nkunku, but he made it. That was a confident finish in the top left corner. You can't complain, can you?
No, you absolutely can't. Dams, first of all, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it very, very much. Same question as Tunaishi, really. How on earth do you feel? Because, like I say, we were shocking in the first half. Really, we weren't particularly good in the second half. Obviously, Gallagher equalised straight after half-time, so that was his first piece of match winning for us today. But then he kind of fizzled out again very quickly. Like, yeah, maybe we had a couple of good minutes, but after that, it went back to being a bit dreadful. And only at the very, very end, Gallagher in the 91st, and then what was it, 93rd, 94th, winning us the game. And in between that, now, Palace didn't really have chances to win the game, but we didn't even look anywhere near close to winning that game until that Gallagher chance. So, what is the overwhelming feeling? Concern about still how dreadful we are, or just elation because we did at least get a last-minute winner? Because we don't get a lot of those in recent times. I saw tweet earlier, someone saying that this is the first Chelsea player to score a 90th minute winner in the Premier League since Conor Gallagher over a year ago, also at Selhurst Park. So we don't get a lot of these. So I guess we have to take it and we have to celebrate it. But what are your main takeaways, I guess, from this game? Just to quickly summarize.
Yeah, big up Laurenz, big up the chat as well. It's been ages since I come on. Yeah, I mean, the only positive we can sort of take out of this is the result, I guess. 3 points. I mean, it wasn't pretty at all watching most of the game, especially the first half. It was dreadful to watch, to be honest with you. It just head in hands all the time. It's like I expected us to completely batter Palace. I thought we had the game done by half time just because of how bad they were, not really so of how good we would have been. But I thought Palace away, the Hodgson under pressure, I thought we'd be at least 2-3 up at half time, given the confidence we've taken from Villa as well.
I
but
actually think that
yeah,
before this, they hadn't lost in 3 games at home, or would this have been the 3rd in a row that they hadn't lost? Now, they didn't win any
yeah,
of
that's
them.
right.
It was all draws, but still.
Yeah, but the first half was just, it was honestly awful. The team Pochettino put out some of his tactics he was playing. He went back to Caicedo playing as a lone 6 again, which obviously didn't work. Then
Yeah.
I guess a little bit of credit to him for changing at second half. I guess it still doesn't change the fact that he's messed up again. Well, almost got away with it again. And thanks to Conor Gallagher, we come away with 3 points that overall we probably did deserve on the night. But let's be real, if we're playing City, Arsenal, Liverpool today and perform like that, we would have got smacked for at least 5 or 6, to be honest with you. So yeah, happy with the 3 points. There's still a lot of issues, but yeah, big up Conor Gallagher. I mean, I've been one of his biggest critics and stuff. A lot of like my other mates and stuff, and obviously you guys as well. I've seen that. I do like Gallagher, but at the same time, I do think that he can be replaceable. But I think at the moment with how it's going, it's just he's one of our key players, and it'd be mad to move him on, to be honest with you, in the summer, because fair play to him. He's stepped it up this season. Last season he wasn't great at all. Pre-season he wasn't great, but yeah, he's really turned the corner, and yeah, he's very valuable to us, and he's undroppable at the moment. I have to be honest, he's undroppable. And yeah, I'll hold my hands up and say I was wrong about Gallagher, to be honest with you. And yeah, we take it to City next week. I mean, we've been in the position before where we almost wrote off City at the start of the season, and look, we got a decent draw against them. I'm not saying it's going to happen this time round. They're a different team with De Bruyne back. They're on top form right now. They've got 6 or 7 wins in a row or something like that. They've obviously got Champions League, but obviously for us, we just have to go get a result there. I mean, obviously we want to win, but realistically, I do think if Poch plays how we set up tonight in the first half and bits of the second half, then City will take us to the cleanest, to be honest with you. And yeah, well, one thing as well, I think as soon as we got that second half goal, I think that changed the game a lot for us, to be fair, because had we not had scored within 1 minute, I genuinely think Palace would have held on to 1-0 and maybe would have grabbed a jammy equaliser at the end. But I think getting that early goal sort of let the handbrake off with Crystal Palace, to be honest with you, because it started to come out more, and that's when we sort of found gaps and found these spaces to sort of exploit Palace. But it was a bit of a drag until the 75th minute. I mean, there were bits here and there where we tried creating chances. Jackson didn't really do much in the game, to be honest with you. Sterling was poor off the bench, I thought, as well, apart from one run through the middle that he did. But yeah, I mean, yeah, as I said, we got the win. That's what matters at the end of the day. And yeah, I think everyone has a right to criticize some of the players and even Pochettino after today, because at half time, the whole of the Twitter timeline and all of us were absolutely fuming, and it's very justifiable.
It is justifiable. Sorry, guys, if I looked a bit concerned. I was just sorting a few other things out. Like I say, with a super last-minute change in the whole game, there was a lot of stuff that I just had to get going just before the stream. And now, as I let the boys speak already, let's get into the lineup to not sit here for too long tonight, because, you know, we all have shit to do. We essentially went for the same team that beat Aston Villa a couple of days ago, with the only exception being Thiago Silva coming in for the injured Benoit Badiashile. Now, part of me understood that, because obviously we were great against Villa. But at the same time, now I had two main issues with it. First of all, Nkunku. Now, he started against Wolves, then gets rested against Villa, has been PR briefed by the club and by Poch constantly crying about injuries as basically our Lord and Savior this season. And then when he should be fit, he's not starting. Now, when you see what he did in the second half, how much of a difference he made, we'll talk about. But I just don't get that. But the main issue for me is how Pochettino thinks. I play the same team and seemingly the same tactics against a completely different opposition. Villa want the ball. Villa are a good team. Villa are in the top 4 of the Premier League. They wanted the ball. They were going to allow us to press them. Now look at this Palace team and game. They didn't even want to have the ball, except when they were trying to counterattack us, which meant we had the ball 95% of the time. Obviously not quite, but you get the point. When would we be able to press if we have the ball? So if we can't press really because we have possession all of the time, what's the point in having Palmer up front? What's the point in having Jackson out wide? Well, what's the point in any of the tactics that he produced? And like, I mean, we'll get into our Thiago Silva discussion, and you and me, Naish, were already talking during the game where we slightly disagree, but we'll talk about it on air now, because the main difference for me is, or the main issue for me is that people are comparing what happened against Villa to against Palace. Well, yeah, in our team, the only change was Silva coming in for Badiashile. But the big difference is the opponent. Villa came out at us, which means there is gaps to play through for the centre-backs. But if the opponent just sits deep and gives the centre-back all the time and space in the world, but the midfielders don't really move, and also the opponent tries to block every passing lane, well, then every centre-back and every player is going to take a bit longer to pass. As well as obviously having a dreadful manager who doesn't know how attacking patterns work. And every time it feels like our players play, they need to look for where to pass rather than, like at Man City, where it's like, if Walker's here, they know De Bruyne is going to be there. And if De Bruyne is there, then they know Haaland is going to be there. They don't need to look. They know where they're going to be and just pass it there, cross it there, whatever they need to do. At Chelsea, that's not a thing. Chelsea need to look first or speak to each other to know where they're going to be. Even though we've been here for 7 months now, it's not August anymore. It's not even September anymore. We're now in February, mid-February, and we still don't really know how we actually attack. But that's a whole separate issue. Dams, I'll go with you first. We'll get to our Thiago Silva discussion once we talk about Thiago Silva. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, there is obviously the one, like I said, the one side that's like, fair enough, we played really well with pretty much this exact team at Villa. So you see the logic in why you'd play the same. But isn't that the sign for how bad Pochettino is as a manager, for not grasping the difference between playing Aston Villa, a very good team, and Crystal Palace, who have all of their most important players injured? So you knew they wouldn't want the ball. They would just sit deep. It's a completely different type of game. How can you think that the exact same type of team would lead to the same result? I just don't get it. I just don't get how you can think a completely different opponent requires the exact same tactics and lineup. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I guess from his perspective, he's probably thinking, we've produced our best performance away against Aston Villa. Then why not stick with the same team? Why change it up? Because I think a lot of pundits and maybe a lot of the coaching staff have maybe criticised him for changing the lineup a bit too much by tinkering it, whether that's in attack or even defence. So maybe from his point of view, he's probably thinking, just stick with the same teams and just see how it goes. But then it's all good and well playing the same team, but it's actually the instructions you give to each player as well. Because we saw with how Enzo and Caicedo were today. I mean, it was a completely different setup to how he both wanted them to play against Villa. And we saw against Villa how well it worked effectively within that triangle between Enzo, Caicedo and Gallagher. And today it was just, as we've seen it most of the season, where Caicedo sitting and Enzo literally playing as like a left winger or like a left forward or striker. And then Gallagher just being Gallagher and just running about, basically. So, I think it's more the instructions he set out for each player. And bearing in mind as well, against Villa, everyone was sensational in that game. Maybe apart from Palmer, I thought. But today, not everyone was sensational, to be honest with you. And it took, 2 late goals to win it for us and individual brilliance. So, because I thought Noni was poor today, Jackson was poor today, Palmer non-existent in the first half, Chilwell not great either, Silva was good, Disasi was shaky.
Mate, was anyone good in the first half? Honestly,
apart from Gusto,
I think in the first half they were all like maximum of a 3.
Yeah, honestly, like they were all bang average, and that's the whole point, where you could set out a team again, but then they have to perform to that level again. If they don't, then it's on the manager ultimately at the end of the day. So I was a little bit surprised Poch didn't change it a bit in terms of the starting 11. I mean, like we all expected these players to play. Like we expected Gallagher to play. We expected like Silva to come back in, but to keep like Noni in the team and stuff like that, I guess he's trying to build momentum. But you go with the team that's best suited to the opponent. Like for me, I thought I would have thought Mudryk would have been ideal for this game, instead of maybe Noni, and then even starting Nkunku. And Nkunku didn't even start the game against Villa. So he definitely would have been more useful than Jackson was today if he started. But obviously, Pochettino knows, knows more about the players' fitness than us, I guess. So yeah, it's just one
Does
of them.
he?
Innit?
I'm not sure he does, mate. Considering every time he plays,
Well, he does bloody
player
coach
back
them
from
every day,
injury,
doesn't
they
he?
get
So
injured, and all the other times he waits way too long to start playing them again, and then sits in a press conference. Oh, I am bored of explaining to you that the issues are injuries. I'm like, fuck off.
it's a really
Fuck
good impression,
off.
by the way, bro.
Like, you lost to a Borough team with 13 injuries, you absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, you are a
Exactly.
lucky boy that you didn't lose today because Palace had literally every single one of their good players injured. Every single one of their good players was injured. And
we still
nearly
struggled
lost
against them, bro, in the first half. We still struggled. We
Mate.
were 1-0 down against them as well. So
Mate, it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's an absolute joke. That, man, honestly, I've never hated a manager more. But hey, at the moment, I say at the moment, the last two games, at least we won. So that's something. Naishi, in terms of the lineup, like I said, we get to Thiago Silva when we get to his rating. How do you feel about like essentially the same team after Villa? Now, like I say, I understand some sort of logic to it, but surely if you pick the same players, you need to adapt the tactics. And he didn't seem to do either, change the players or the tactics.
I feel, to be honest, I think I'm happy that he went with the same lineup. Why I say that is because, you know what, we're not in a position to be changing too many things. We need to simplify our lineups.
So don't you think if the manager is crying for injuries for 7 months and then chooses to not use Nkunku, it's extremely hypocritical. Do you know what I mean?
No, I do get that point. I did expect Nkunku to start in this game only because he's had a good rest, especially in the Villa game. He didn't have much minutes in the Villa game, so I don't get his point where he was crying about the injuries and he needs to start. He doesn't have the luxury to be resting players. You know what I mean? You've been crying all season about injuries and the injury record, which he did have a point, but when you have your players available, you should start to use them. And with the lineup, we'll touch on it a bit later. I probably wasn't too happy with Thiago coming back in, only because I just want to see the team kind of function without Thiago, just because I felt that the fluidity in the Villa game was so much better. The speed of the game, the tempo, everyone. I know sometimes a team can sit deep and you might think, okay, we can slow down the tempo, but that tempo should be still kept up, in my opinion. It should be still getting switched from left to right. You might not see it, but switching the ball left to right, keep the opponent keep guessing. He tires the opposition a lot more quicker than just literally taking 7-10 touches on the ball, which I think Thiago's acceptable for that kind of thing.
No,
but
can I just quickly to jump in there, because obviously Budget Hill was injured, and yes, Colwell was back on the bench. So was Trevor Chalobah. Of course, didn't come on, but still, first time back in a match they scored all season. But Colwell also just came back from an injury. So while I hear what you're saying in terms of you would like to see it more often with Thiago Silva to see the differences, that's fair enough. But I don't think today anyone was really ready. I don't think if Thiago doesn't get injured tonight, which, in a way solves the whole problem, but in another way obviously makes the whole problem worse, because we again only have two fit centre backs. And Colwell also, did you guys see how he dodgily he twisted his ankle there at the end? I'm like, obviously it was still 1-1 at the time, but I was like, oh no, that didn't look good. Obviously he kept playing, but people have kept playing before and then turn out to be injured. The same for Gusto came off. He asked to be subbed off. So is he injured? Was he just tired? I don't know. Thiago Silva got injured. There was a moment where Caicedo was down and I was concerned about him. Honestly, I've never heard of a club have this many injuries for this long of a sustained period of time. It's not half a season or one season. It's 3 seasons straight. And I would love to just blame the owners and blame the medical staff, but it's not that simple, really, is it? It was under the old owners and the old medical staff. We've changed the medical staff 1.5 times since we've got the new owners. We've completely different squads. So you can't say it's just the same injury-prone players. It's ridiculous. But that's the thing I kind of want to touch on, Amit. Shout out you for the comment, by the way. Save the slightly injured players for the cup final. I get that, but at the same time, all of our players are slightly injured. I mean, all of them are. Thiago Silva is way too old to consistently be fit. Malo Gusto was recently needed to be left out because he had was overloaded muscle-wise. Since then, played every game again. Now look at him. Do you know what I mean? And also, I slightly disagree in terms of save the injured players. Or the slightly injured players, the not so fit players. I disagree on that with Nkunku, because Nkunku has been injured for so long that Nkunku's main problem, yeah, sure, he needs to get fit, but the other problem is that he's not played with this team yet, really. Like, he played, 3 games in preseason? And has basically been injured permanently since. Now, yeah, sure, he's done some training, but first of all, we know how Poch's training goes. Not very useful. So, he needs game time with these players on the pitch. Like, you can't, like, you see it now. Every now and again, you're like, what does Nkunku even do? Like, you can see individual moments of brilliance, but in terms of working with the rest of the team, is more, moments rather than a consistent thing. What he needs is to play with the rest of the players. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's start off with Georgia Petrovic in goal. Now, also, obviously, I don't live in the UK, so I couldn't watch Monday Night Football on Sky, but Petr Cech was the special guest tonight. There's a lovely video going around of Petr Cech celebrating Chelsea's winner at the end, which is just warms my heart, really. But he said some interesting thing about Petrovic. He rates him highly. He thinks he should be a bit further off his line, which I agree with, actually. I think he's a bit hesitant, first of all, in his general positioning, but also in coming out. But to me, also understandable. He's played in a far worse league until now. He's still young in terms of a goalkeeper and little experience. So I understand those things. I just hope he can work on them. Petr Cech apparently said that that's a bit of a Spanish thing. And obviously, well, I'm not sure if Poch's goalkeeping coach is necessarily Spanish. Could be Argentinian, but they've, worked their football from Spain. So maybe that's a thing that we could slightly adapt. But what do we think about Petrovic? As a joke, I tweeted and said in our group chat, is like, I thought we don't concede long shots if we don't have Kepa. Turns out we do. Obviously, Petrovic has nothing he can do about it. Just like Kepa couldn't do anything about 95% of the goals that people complain about in terms of the long shots. But yeah, I mean, Madueke had fault, maybe Caicedo a little bit as well. Dizazi before that getting made look like an absolute schoolboy. But Petrovic for the goal, don't think he can do much about it. Made a couple of other saves. Should have parried one more to the side than he did. But in the grand scheme of things, it's another one of those weird ones where I don't really know what to do about Petrovic. So I don't think he could do anything about the goal. I don't think he did anything particularly good otherwise or bad. So I'm going to just give him a 6. Neshi, what do you reckon? I mean, Sammy said 6.5. I guess you could say that, but I think a 6 is more fair. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd go with along with the 6. If I'm being hypercritical with that goal, I just feel a top goalkeeper would save that. I'm not saying Petrovic can't be a top goalkeeper. I just feel like.
Can I quickly ask in terms of, do you think his positioning should have been better, or do you think like the jump of the save itself should have been better? Or could it be?
I think the more the positioning. I think if you notice, he was slightly towards to his right hand side, and as you said, Peter checked his touch on this. It was an interesting kind of. I was listening in great detail. He kind of mentioned that he kind of needed to step up a bit more to just close that angle.
Did he say that on this goal specifically as well?
Yeah, he exactly mentioned that.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, go on then.
He should have stepped up to cut the kind of angle for the flight of the ball, and exactly that's coming from Peter Cech, one of the greatest Premier League goalkeepers. You got to take what he says very carefully. So I feel like he could have done better, but that's me being hypercritical. I don't think it was like an obvious mistake. He probably didn't expect Lemma to kind of take a shot. And
it's his first goal since joining Palace, by the way. Of course, he scores it against us.
Exactly, and like you, Laurenz, the first thought was Kepa. When I seen that goal, it just reminded me of Kepa. We've literally had post-trauma from Kepa's long shots. Yeah, well, that's
obviously. You were talking about what Cech said, but my only thought was in terms of the position, because I see what you're saying with that. But my thinking is, if Petrovic stood more towards the middle, doesn't that kind of open up the opportunity for the shot to go to the near post?
No, you got a point there, and I did think that when, but in the
but like I say, and like you said, Cech would know better than anyone. So
the only thing that as well that kind of defends Petrovic there is because Disasi was kind of blocking onto where the goal actually ended up. It just slightly missed Disasi, and then the ball was actually curling away, when he went past the Sassy. So it was a good strike at the same time. So, but
Yeah, that was a good.
a world-class goalkeeper could save that. That's all I'm just saying. I'm not saying he can't be that, and I'm really happy with Petrovic. Like I said, he brings calmness in that goalkeeper position, and I feel a lot more calmer than probably Sanchez, which is saying something because I do rate Sanchez as well. His passing abilities there. Like I said, he just brings a bit more organization in that line
just
as well.
calmer, isn't he? Like a goalie needs to bring calmness, and Sanchez brings chaos, in my opinion. He's not generally a bad goalie, and even you said it there. I agree with you. Like his passing isn't generally bad, but still, before he got injured, every single game he passes straight to the opponent at least once a game. So how can you be good at passing and still do that? Because he just creates chaos. I don't know how this happens, but he just does. But let's not get too hung up on Sanchez. I go to Dams. Dams, on Petrovic, first of all, I mean, I'm not sure if you watched Sky in the UK or what you watched. I assume so. So you presumably then also heard Czech's comments at halftime. What did you make of that goal, and what rating would you give Petrovic today, mate?
Yeah, the goal itself, like I agree with what Nate said and yourself. Like Petrovic obviously is a great keeper at the moment, but to become that elite keeper down the line, we would expect him to save that in a way. But that's obviously nothing on.
You reckon expect? Oh man, honestly, to me,
even
like Courtois or Alisson, I'm like maybe like 1 in 5 they save that, and the other times even they can save it. But even for them, I don't you can say you expect them to save it. But
as in like if we had Alisson in goal, then that's maybe a save that I expect a top keeper like Alisson to make, for example. That's obviously the levels of like Petrovic and Alisson at the moment. But I'm not too I'm not blaming Petrovic at all for the goal. Like it's definitely on Noni and Caicedo for being stupid around the box, to be honest with you. But I thought Petrovic generally was good today. Made a decent save from that Brazilian guy. I forgot his name, the one that plays for Palace. The one who made his debut made a decent stop. Mitchell? That's the only save I remember.
Mitchell, the left back.
No, some Brazilian guy who I think is a 19-year-old.
I forget his name as well. But
it was a decent save. I think that's the only save he made. He was cool, commanding, and the stuff about calmness you guys talk about. That's probably his best quality. I think just that sort of experience in a way. I mean, like it's weird because he hasn't had any Prem experience until now, but I believe he came from the MLS. Is that right? Yeah, he came from the MLS, and he's played quite a few games there as well. So that's obviously brought in to the Premier League as well. So Petrovic, I think the difference between him and Sanchez is Petrovic knows when to pass at the back, but Sanchez just does it constantly. Like Petrovic knows, oh shit, okay, I can't play it here, I'll just go long. But then Sanchez will take that extra risk, and then that's where obviously everyone goes back to that Arsenal goal with Declan Rice. That's how they sort of got their goal, where Sanchez was being a bit stupid in that moment. But yeah, like Sanchez isn't a bad keeper, but I don't think he's great either. I think he's good enough to be number 2, I guess. But I'm definitely happy with Petrovic's progression in the team, and no way he should be dropped. I mean, if we look at the Leeds game for him to get some rest potentially, or we play our strongest team, then that's maybe a game that.
I guess against Leeds, Sanchez he wasn't in the squad today, but he did travel with the team on the coach and stuff. Today, shocking news, by the way, was the first time I think maybe all season that Pochettino did not put 2 goalkeepers on the bench. We only had 1 goalie on the bench. It was unbelievable. The scenes. It's ridiculous. But yeah, did you agree with the 6 Dams for Pochettino?
I'd agree with you boys. Give it 6. I mean, I think the goal was just being overcritical from our points of view, which is fair enough. Like we're fans at the end of the day, and we demand the best from these players. So I think a 6 is fair for Petrovic.
Yeah, fair dues. So obviously, in terms of what you guys said, in terms of does a world-class goalkeeper save it? Yeah, maybe. But how many world-class goalkeepers are there in the world? Like 3, 4? Do you know what I mean? Like, look at where we are as a club. We don't have world-class players. Like, we have players that could become world-class players in terms of potential, but we don't have world-class players. That's not a thing at Chelsea. So, like Courtois, Alisson, I don't know even about Oblak. I don't watch Atletico regularly if he's like tailed off a little bit, or if he's still in that category, to be honest. Same with Neuer. But other than Courtois, maybe even Alisson, I'm like, I feel like he might be a bit too small to save. Not that he's small, but to save that, I feel like you need to be huge. So the only one I almost expect to save that goal that Petrovic conceded today is maybe Courtois. But it's
yeah. Sorry, bro. I think the test will be like say if another long shot does come and see how Petrovic reacts to that. I mean, like if it's very similar and he saves it, then it could just be like a one-off where he just saw it late and stuff. But if it's a recurring theme like we saw with Kepa, then we know that that he's got capititis basically.
Capititis, that's good. Fair play. All right, let's get into Thiago Silva. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, I would like for you all to get involved as well. There's a lot of debate. And actually, let's just talk between you and I. Oh, obviously, we'll bring Dams in as well, but because we do have a slightly different opinion on this. Now, let me clarify to start with. I do agree, and I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I've been actually saying this before anybody else was talking about this. At least I felt like I didn't see anybody talking about it on Twitter. I just felt people having to go at me for saying it. But I've been saying for a long time that Thiago Silva passes out too slowly. I've been saying this all the way back to when we still had Andreas Christensen. And I was like, when Christensen plays central centre-back, we play better because he plays out faster. But in my opinion, we're in a very different scenario as a football club now. Now, when we're at that level where we're like kind of competing, then that small thing of Thiago Silva taking too long to play makes a difference. But I think where we are right now as a club, I think to talk about, to highlight Thiago Silva taking a bit too long on the ball as being a major issue, to me is a little bit ridiculous. Like, I understand the point of the way it was against Villa, but like I said earlier, Villa was a completely different game. They pressed us, they're a top team, they wanted the ball. So there was gaps to play through. When you look at how Palace line up, they had two lines of four, sometimes a line of four and then a line of five, and only one of them in front of us, and they didn't press. So yes, the centre-back has the ball the whole time, and his only passing options really is Caicedo if he drops super deep, or Enzo on the few occasions that he drops super deep, or the fullbacks. And otherwise, you don't really have an option. But because the whole opposition is then behind whoever you're passing to, there's no real benefit. Okay, you play quickly to Chilwell, or you play quickly to Caicedo in front of you. 9 times out of 10, the ball comes back anyway. So the one thing I'll give you is, in terms of the line that we play, Thiago does make a difference. But then you look at what happened in the build-up to the first goal today, and you see how Disasi got absolutely destroyed. And I'm like, really? Are we sat here saying, oh, Thiago Silva is the problem? Like, people were saying that defensively about the last game. And I was like, defensively, Thiago Silva is still miles better than all the other centre-backs, in my opinion. And I don't know, I just, like, yes, he's old, but he didn't get any slower since he's 38. Like, he's been well slow since he's bloody 32. I mean, Thiago Silva's never been quick. Like, doesn't get much slower. Sure, maybe he's a little less fit, but the main problem with that is that he's playing too often. Like, that's, in my opinion, a much bigger issue than him being old or him being slow or him, like, passing too slowly. I agree that he passes too slowly, but you saw when Cobble came on, did we pass it much faster? I didn't think so. Did Caicedo stop dropping between them? I didn't think so. Like, Cobble himself passed it faster. And I agree with that. I see the look on your face, Nation. Cobble passed it faster, but it didn't lead to anything. He passed it to Chilwell quicker. He passed it to Enzo quicker. And then he came back all the same because it depended on where Palace's line was. For me, anyway. How do you, first of all, please explain your perspective on that topic, and then get into how would you rate Thiago Silva on a day like today?
Yeah, just to touch on, like, first of all, I want to establish that I like Thiago Silva. I think he's a great defender, and he's one of the best defenders we've seen. Like, he's been at PSG, his experience, he was also at AC Milan, so we need that experience. I'm not to say that he's almost a liability, but I do feel like, and I'm starting to see it more in his game, that he's slowing the game too much for my liking. I feel like if he were to keep passing it, just keep the ball moving, it just works better for the team. One, the opposition doesn't know where to. I feel like when you hold on to the ball, I don't know if you both guys have played football. If you're holding to the ball too long, you kind of, as a defender, you're kind of happy that the opposition team is holding on the ball, because it kind of lets your whole team lets your whole team get into shape, and it's almost, you can see the whole picture of the ball in front of you. Whereas if you keep moving the ball, you're kind of guessing where the runs are coming from and stuff like that. And I feel in the Villa game, it showed that the pace of the game was a lot quicker. It's not solely down to Thiago, but if you look at the lineup, the only difference was Thiago.
But obviously the opponent is different. Like, surely that plays a part. Like, you don't play football just with yourself. You play against an opponent.
No, that does play a part. Obviously, you were right. I am in agreement with you that the game was different because obviously Aston Villa was asking more questions about us and they had a higher line, whereas Crystal Palace had a deeper line. And on the goal that we actually conceded, I don't think that was down to him. That was actually down to Disasi. He kind of jumped into a tackle and then he just lost his man. And then I don't know what Nani and Casado were doing. It's like they were literally, I don't know what. I think
it's like under six, man. Like, what are you doing?
I was confused what was happening. And then, so he was not at fault with the goal. But I'm just saying, I'm just looking going forward.
Yeah.
Maybe, and you've mentioned this, Laurenz, as well, about the defenders being available, the other defenders, that is. That's not down to Thiago, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not his fault.
And now Thiago isn't available himself anymore, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm being harsh, and I know the fan base love Thiago, which is kind of it's a big topic at the moment. But I just want to see Thiago maybe sit out a couple of games to kind of assess how much better the team functions. But solely on this game and the time that he played, I feel like a 6.5. I felt like he done some good headers. I think actually the clearance he made led to the.
It did.
It did.
But was it a bad clearance necessarily?
Wasn't it Enzo?
I don't know if it's just
wasn't it Enzo's
where the ball fell. I don't know. Like that's a tough one for me to judge.
Yeah, but obviously that would be harsh to blame that header, that clearance header. Yeah, it was Thiago that cleared that header. That ended on Nani, and then they had that foul. Yeah, but he made also a very brilliant tackle towards. Was it? I think it was at the beginning of the second half. It could have been.
Was it when he got injured, or was it before?
It was just before. It was like 5 or 10 minutes before he got injured. See, that's the thing about Thiago. He makes these brilliant last-ditch tackles. Even though I'm being critical about his slow play, I still feel he's a valuable member to the squad. But just going forward, he just needs to speed up the game. So 6.5 from me.
And that's one thing I would like to say, because first of all, fair play for giving him a 6.5. Honestly, I might even only say 6, but we'll get to that in a second. First of all, in terms of this whole slow thing, I think considering he's nearly 40, he's fucking rapid. But obviously, it's only considering he's nearly 40. But the whole taking too long to pass, Thiago Silva is capable of passing quicker. I am fully convinced that if the manager told him, Thiago, mate, you need to pass the ball quicker, that Thiago Silva would do that. I refuse to believe that Thiago Silva, one of the best centre-backs of modern football, Brazilian as well, is incapable of passing quicker. I refuse to believe that. I agree that he does it, but I refuse to believe that he can't change it. You know, I just can't. Why wouldn't he be able to change that? It's not like nothing is physically stopping him. He can clearly read the game well enough to do it quick. So I don't maybe it's him being so experienced. He's just rather than playing it quickly for no reason, I just, keep it and try to find the good pass, but then he doesn't really do it. So where does the point come in?
Just on that, what do you think when Colwill did come on, he was a lot quicker. I love that even Colwill and Badisho are very similar in that they try and feed that ball into the midfield as quick as possible, feed it to the fullbacks as quick as possible, and I like that. And it just creates a tempo. It creates a kind of threat going forward. You know what I mean? I know it's not a direct threat, but it's almost like an indirect threat of just trying to be more progressive.
It's moments, isn't it? There is moments when it depends on when you win the ball, right? There is moments where this is super useful to play quickly. and as the centre back. And then there's other moments where it doesn't really change anything, because if the opponents are set in their formation already, say it's from our goal kick, and we play it out like low, play to the centre back, and then you're like, whoa, nothing's going to drastically change if that pass goes to Caicedo or Enzo fast or slowly, because Palace are sat in their formation regardless of when, in terms of weight on the ball, it changes, but in terms of whether it comes now or 10 seconds later, it doesn't really change anything. In terms of, just to get your last thought on this, Naishi, JP says, Caicedo's positioning today was so close to Silva to accommodate him. Now, I don't agree with that. I don't understand how you come to that conclusion. In my opinion, Caicedo drops deep to help with build-up, which is a completely natural thing for a team to do when you play with a centre-back 2, for the DM to drop between them so the centre-backs can spread out wide and you could build a little bit in a 3. That's a completely normal thing to do. There's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing to do with Thiago Silva. The bigger issue is where Enzo is. The fact that Enzo is so far away from Caicedo. The issue isn't Caicedo being so low. Maybe you can debate whether because of Thiago Silva the line is deeper and therefore Caicedo is deeper and therefore the gap to Enzo is bigger. That maybe I will concede that may be possible. But even then, I'm like, is Dizazi really that much quicker than Thiago Silva? I don't think so. Is Badiashile that much quicker than Thiago Silva? Like, maybe a little bit, but I don't think significantly. Colwell is, sure. And Fofana definitely is, if he's ever back fit. But these other two, I don't know, man. Like, do you think Caicedo is closer to Silva, to the centre-backs, to accommodate him? Or do you disagree with that?
No, I'll disagree with that. I would go along with what you said in terms of that's like the normal way of build or play. Like I've seen Rodri do that multiple times, and he's one of the best central defensive midfielders to kind of drop deep to kind of push that defensive line higher, and then they go along and go into that central area too. So maybe I can see where he's coming from with with that point. Maybe there's probably a more question mark on with the high line with Thiago at the back because maybe the pace, but at the same time, is Badiashile that much quicker than Thiago? Not that much, to be honest, but I would say he is quicker than him.
Yeah, but Thiago reads the game better for me, so that more than cancels itself out in terms of purely defensively. Like, again, if we're going back to in possession, then Badiashile is definitely better than Thiago. I fully agree. But the game is not just played with the ball at your feet. Do you know what I mean? Like, you also need to defend as a defender.
Exactly that. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that he's doing it to accommodate Silva. And like I said, that's just kind of the normal play a central defensive midfielder. And a lot of them do that in the modern game to kind of push that, to progress the ball higher.
There you go. I just want to bring up this, and please, before you have a go at me, I am very aware that this is one specific screenshot and doesn't mean this is how it looked the whole time. I understand. Thank you. Like, please don't think I'm a complete idiot. This is just used as an example for, you see that Enzo isn't even on the picture. That's how high he is. And then you see Caicedo is behind Mateta. Obviously, he's coming here now, but I mean, I don't remember. I didn't take the screenshot myself. So I would assume that once Caicedo is here, Thiago either passed it to him or he passed it to Chilwell. Because where else are you going to pass it from here? Sure, you could try this one, but look at the rest defense. If they intercept it, well, fucking good luck trying to stop them from scoring. That's how we concede half our goals. Do people not realize this? Like, look at the way we lost to Wolves. Caicedo, obviously in a different position, but essentially the same setup where Wolves were essentially positioned like this. Caicedo loses the ball about here, we concede. Now, so if you play that ball and it gets intercepted, then what? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's easy to say, oh, you need to pass quicker. But there's a reason why Thiago Silva has a higher pass completion rate than all the others. And it's a bit of a, obviously, yes, you want to play them quicker, but I just what I hate is people seemingly blaming, I'm not you, Naishi, but on Twitter, I see so many people, like, people are literally there because Poch played Thiago Silva is why we had a bad first half. I'm like, how much of a lack of understanding of football can you have to think that all of this dreadfulness that we produced in the first half can all be down to Thiago Silva? That is ridiculous to me. To me, it is ridiculous. But yeah, when I see a situation like this, I'm like, how is the conclusion blame Thiago for not passing quicker? To me, it's baffling. But yeah, just to clarify, I'll give Thiago a 6 rather than a 6.5. Dams, me and Naishi spoke a lot there. My apologies. We'll bring you in on it as well now. how do you see the whole Thiago Silva passing situation? When you see a picture like this, obviously I understand there's different scenarios. And some, I would agree, pass quicker. In some situations, I'm like, what difference does it make? Like here, what difference does it make if you pass it 5 seconds earlier or later? It changes nothing. Look how Palace are set up. They're ready for whatever we're going to do. You need movement. And if the movement in front of him doesn't happen, no pass is gonna break that. You need the movement to make them move to create gaps. Otherwise, nothing's gonna change. But how do you see that, Dams?
Yeah, to be fair, you boys summed it up quite well there, to be fair. So I think with Thiago Silva, I've noticed this a lot when Lampard was manager and even when Tuchel was manager, when my only criticism of Silva's been he takes way too long on the ball. And that's the only thing I can really criticize him on, because his defending, one-on-one defending's like exceptional. His reading of the game's exceptional. I think there was one point during the game, I know this might be the most minor thing, but when you play football and you understand football and you're in that position, it's so easy to F up. But I think there was one point where the ball bounced really awkwardly and then Thiago Silva just like used his body to come across and then cleared it with his right foot. And I think passed it from the right, from the outside of his boot. And I think even Gary Neville said on commentary that just shows like the amount of experience this guy has and how valuable he is to us. Because in our backline, I don't really see anyone as experienced as him. I mean, Disasi's what 24, 25, right, or something like that. I think, yeah. But for me, I don't see him as a leader or experience, and I think. Yeah, but I hate both your points, to be fair, about Thiago Silva sort of being slow in the build-up and stuff. And I think that's always been his criticism. I think with the league the amount of leagues he's played in as well. He's played in what? Serie A, he's played in every bloody league apart from the Bundesliga. So he's used to that sort of method of playing. And I do think Caicedo's potentially dropping that deep as well to help him out cover in a way where it sort of leaves that gap between Caicedo and Enzo, and then ultimately that's down to Pochettino telling Caicedo to do that, to be fair. So yeah, I think with Silva, it's a shame he's gone off injured. I think he'll be a massive miss, especially for the Carabao Cup final. I think we're going to need him, especially on that day. We'll see how serious this is, but yeah, I'd agree with the 6.5 as well. I thought he was standard Thiago Silva, solid, but yeah, I mean, going forward, it's going to be sad to see the day Thiago Silva leaves. To us, like that's how much I think us fans rate him. With the fact that us fans are sort of putting him some fans are putting him in all-time Chelsea 11s, where it's just crazy to think that he's played in probably the worst teams that we've had for the past few years. So yeah, I'd give Thiago 6.5, and yeah, hopefully he's back for Liverpool in the final because we're going to need him desperately.
Yeah, I mean, I very much doubt that because the cup final is in 12 days, so I very much doubt he's going to be fit for that. But
I do think I think one player I do like that could be a replacement for him. Obviously, he's not as good or won't be as good as Thiago Silva, but even someone like Joachim Andersen for Crystal Palace, I think he's got that similar profile to Thiago Silva, and I think he could do well. I think for us, if we end up going for him, for example.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Something I'll try to think honestly. In terms of signing players, I have lost all faith in our recruitment, all of it. So I don't even want to think about who we should sign because the players that I think we should sign, we're not going to sign anyway because we don't sign anyone over the age of 25. And the players that we will sign, first of all, 90% of us will have never heard of them. And even if we've heard of them, we'll have never watched more than 2 games of them. So it's all a load of guesswork anyway. And chances are we're going to sign some injury-prone players. So, they're going to be injured for the most time anyway. So what does it matter? Anyway, let's move on to Disasi. Obviously, not directly at fault for the goal, but indirectly. Because in the build-up, if he just defends Mateta on the wing better, they don't even get into the whole, he crosses the ball in, then Thiago Silva clears it, like you touched on, Naishi. Then Noni has it, tries to lay it off to Caicedo. Noni kind of puts Caicedo in a really tough spot. Can Caicedo do a little better? Yes, but I think if he did get out of that without losing the ball, would have been more luck than anything else. He didn't. Lemar gets the ball, shoots, goal. So Disasi in the build-up to that looked really poor. Outside of that, I don't think I didn't have an issue with him. Honestly, I don't think he did particularly a lot wrong. His stats are pretty decent in the grand scheme of things. So, but because he still made that error, that indirectly led to go, and just because it looked so poor, like that was a striker on the wing. Like it wasn't like he was up against Wilfried Zaha or Olise or Eze. Do you know what I mean? Like all those players are either have left Palace or are injured. It was against Mateta. You can't get beat like that, mate. Like you absolutely cannot. So I'm gonna say 6.5, 5.5. Dams, what do you reckon?
Sorry, I was on mute there. I forgot I was on mute. Yeah, I thought Disasi got absolutely skinned today, man. Like I've been one of his biggest fans this season. Thought he's done well. Sometimes deserves criticism, sometimes deserves praise, but I thought today he got absolutely skinned. That Mateta, man, absolutely did him, I think, for the whole game. And yeah, big up Disasi for the celebration, man. That celebration at the end was wild, man. Fair play. I mean, yeah, he's a madman, but
he loves it. He's a little bit like the new Rudiger. Hopefully, he can have the same kind of development path as Rudiger, where he's a bit decent to average at the beginning and then becomes an absolute world beater in a few years. So maybe we've got that coming.
But for me, I thought this was Disasi's worst performance in the Chelsea shirt for me. And I really like Disasi.
Nah, mate, I remember West Ham away. I will never forget.
Oh shit, yeah, West Ham away. Yeah, okay, you reminded me now. But this was definitely up there for one of the worst. So yeah, I'd go with a 5, to be honest with you.
Fair dues. To be honest, I've definitely given him lower than a 5 before. Maybe a 5 is more fair than my 5.5. Let's see what Naishi thinks. I said 5.5, mate. Dom said 5. What do you reckon for Disasi today?
Yeah, that I'll go along with a 5.5. I wouldn't say it was his worst performance, to be honest. I've seen worse games, like that West Ham game. I think there was another game, that Aston Villa game. That 1-0 defeat at Stamford Bridge. Yeah. So okay, with the Mateta, when he got done with Mateta, that's kind of embarrassing because there's nothing skillful about Mateta without disrespecting him. Yeah, and the way he got beat, it's almost like he was up against a prime Bale. Like it was really, I don't know what happened there. And with that goal, I can't really maybe could have stuck a leg out, but really, could he have done much about that goal?
For the goal itself or the shot itself, no. But obviously, if he doesn't get past so easily, the whole situation doesn't happen. So indirectly, you can stop the goal.
That's probably what marks him down to a 5.5. That was a really bad mistake from him. And as you touched on, Dimash, about the celebration, I love that about him. He's a bit crazy like Jackson. I love that when he went to their away fans and celebrated with them. I think that made it to a 5.5. I was going to give him a 5. I think that celebration alone gave him a 5.5. But all in all, if we're looking at the past games, I've been happy with Disasi. It's just maybe, this is one of his poor performances in the recent games. So I'll go along with the 5.5.
Fair dues. Fair dues. We move on to Ben Chilwell. And people know, first of all, I like Chile. People also know that I keep saying that people need to remember a little bit how much Ben Chilwell has been injured in the last 2 years. That for me, he's not even been fit long enough since his ACL injury. And I know that's a while ago now. But ever since that ACL injury, he's never been fit for more than 2 months, 3 months max. And once you are back healthy after a really bad injury, it takes you months to actually get back to your best. And because of injuries that kept stopping him, especially because they're always quite long, quite serious injuries, obviously muscle injuries, but still quite keeping him out for a long time. I don't think he's anywhere near his actual best. I don't think what you're seeing now is normal Chilwell and he's just bad. I think he's bad at the moment, but that's not the best Ben Chilwell. Now, will we get to that again? I think yes. No guarantee though, of course. So we'll have to wait and see. But on a game like today, I'm sorry, but he needs to be better. Like, it just didn't do anything. Like, Palace sits so deep. He's an attacking left back. And he really, he had that one shot that he put just over. But otherwise, 0 out of 5 crosses. 1 out of 3 long balls. 0 tackles in the whole game. 2 out of 6 ground duels won. 1 out of 4 aerial duels won. That's a total of 3 out of 10 duels won. That's That's terrible. Successful dribbles, 0 out of 3. Like, I'm sorry, Chile, but you need to be better than that. Like, if you're not going to be influential, fair enough, but then at least make sure you help organize the defense and everything. Like, you are the captain on the pitch, you're the vice captain of the football club. You need to bring something. And at the moment, you're not making us better defensively in the slightest. If anything, we've gotten worse defensively since Chilwell has come back, in particular on his side. And he doesn't really add much going forward. Now, there's been moments where he nearly did in past games, right? But today, I just think he needs to do better than this. And again, I'm not saying I think he's terrible, and I think he definitely needs to go. But even with not being at your best, I still think you need to be a bit better than this. And maybe it's a bit harsh, but I'm going to give him a 4. Like, I feel like you just need to do more. You just need to do more than what he is doing. Joel says, Laurenz, let's not forget how pathetic we were on the left without him going forward. No, I agree, but are you trying to tell me we were not pathetic on the left going forward today? Because every single one of our attacks came from the right, mate. And it didn't matter who was playing. It didn't matter whether Jackson was up front or whether Jackson was on the left or Nkunku was on the left. Like, it didn't matter. We were dreadful down the left regardless. There's still many reasons for this, but yeah, I must say 4. Dams, what do you reckon?
Yeah, man, it's tough because I do like Chilwell a lot. I remember at the start of the season, I called for him to be captain of Chelsea, and obviously I got my wish. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit concerning now for the past since he's been back. To be honest with you, and I'm not one of those people that would keep defending a player when he's not performing. Even though I do like the player, and I do think there's room for him to grow and develop, but I'm just not seeing it with Chilwell since he's been back from injury. And yeah, it's gutting to be honest with you because we all saw the player that he was before the injury, and then injuries have suddenly just ruined him, to be honest with you. So I have to go lower than a 4, bro. I'll probably have to go for a 3. I didn't think he was good at all, to be honest with you. And yeah, it's sad to sort of say that about Chilwell, to be honest with you.
It is. Naishi, what do you reckon? A 3 and a 4 so far? What would you give Chile?
I don't know. I think you guys have been a bit harsh today. I think.
Okay, go on.
I think I'll go with a 5.5. I know he's not great, and he's been out for quite a while before. How long was he out? At least
4 months, I think.
Yeah, 4 or 5 months it was. Yeah.
It takes at least 5 to 10 games to get match fit from that kind of long layoff.
And that's only that one injury. Like I said, disregarding the 2 bad injuries he's had before this bad injury. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's just. I think he's just getting back to match fitness, really. And to be honest, his positional play it's still not great. Let me just add that, but it was a lot better than, let's say, his previous games. And he's had back-to-back games. That's probably on Pochettino. And we don't have anything better than Chua on the left side. Maybe Cucurella, but he's injured for 3 months.
Well, we would have had Martin, but manager made sure we don't have him anymore.
Yeah, that's another story for another day. Because
start every game for Dortmund, by the way. Back-to-back games with assists, also, by the way. Just saying. At left back, not at right wing, Pochettino. At left back.
Exactly.
In the back four too. Sorry, I keep it.
Bundesliga tax, bro.
No worries. Yeah, Madsen, I don't know why he let go of Madsen. Like you said, he didn't even really try him out at left back, which is so strange. It's almost like he had a hidden agenda against him. It was.
Yeah. He was in the team of the season of the championship. I know it's the championship, but man, Reece James came from the championship. We loaned him there. You know what I mean? He was in that team of the season, and look at him. I'm not saying Martin is anywhere near as good as Reece James, but still.
Exactly. At least try him out and let's see how he is in left back. I don't think he's only played in left wing, and he played him in cam
right
position.
Wing even, yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Exactly. But yeah, back to Chilwell. I don't think today was his worst game, but I do feel like there's a slight drop off on his attacking side. And I can't really remember any defensive errors he made in the game. I don't know if you guys can remind me if he did make any.
More that for me, he just stands off the opponent. Like he doesn't even the fact that he has 0 tackles. he doesn't even attempt to get the ball. Like when there's someone like on the wing, he like stands 2 meters away from them and just kind of lets them do something. Like, yeah, obviously he blocks them somehow, but they can usually cross around him or they can cut it back. So that's you're right. He didn't make like a necessarily a standout mistake. But obviously, if you always stand off your opponent by 2 meters, you're never gonna. What happened to Disasi in the lead up to that goal we conceded? It's never gonna happen to you if you never get any closer than 2 yards to your opponent. It can't happen.
I definitely agree with you. I mentioned that in the previous stream where he does do that 2 meters stand up. It's so strange. He always does it as well. It's like we kind of become accustomed to it. Like he literally stands 2 meters away from. That's not how you're supposed to defend. You're supposed to be touch tight. You're supposed to not let the ball get crossed. It's almost he lets the attacker cross the ball in, which is a major downfall on his game at the moment. But just to be subjective on this game, I'll give him a 5.5, which is not a great rating because it's below average.
Yeah,
but
no,
I
absolutely.
think, yeah.
Overall, that leaves us at a 4.1. So giving him an overall 4. And move over to the other side, Malagusto. Now, I'd need to see it back because obviously the whole situation we were talking about with Disasi was essentially by the byline. And I'm not 100% sure why Gusto wasn't there. I guess they counted us and Gusto was higher at the pitch to try and attack initially. And he did then come back to try and stop the cross, but couldn't. But otherwise, I just love Gusto. It's such a shame that I hope he's not injured. But the fact that he, after a sprint to recover, went immediately like that to the bench, that's not usually a good sign. If you're immediately like, I need to come off, that's not usually a great sign. So if it is an injury, I hope it's very, very minor and he just felt it instantly and knew I'd better be safe than sorry and come off here. But yeah, aside from him potentially getting injured or most likely getting injured, what a phenomenal player. 4 assists now. Got the assist for the equalizer just after halftime. 4 assists in the league for him. I don't know how many he has potentially in the cup games, but what a player. I love him so much. He's strong. He's got that dirty side about him as well. Like he's fast as shit. He can cross. He can. I mean, I know he hasn't scored yet, does he? Maybe he has actually, but maybe he's not necessarily like a Reece James in terms of his shooting ability. But everything else, everything you want from a right back or fullback, Malagusto has got in abundance. I'm a huge, huge fan, and overall we were poor today. But I thought Gusto, other than Gallagher's goals, I thought Gusto was by far our best player. Like by a distance, actually. Maybe a little bit tailed off towards the end of the second half and then came off. But yeah, I'll give him a 7. Nashi, what do you reckon? And I'm not sure if you saw the private message, mate, but let's try to keep ourselves a bit shorter because we've only done not even a back 4 yet and we're already here for over an hour.
Yeah, to keep it short and sweet. Yeah, I'll go with a 7.5.
Okay.
I might be even pushing to an 8, maybe 8.
You can, mate.
Because he had a poor first half, I would say. I'll stick with the 7.5. As you said, he's a brilliant fullback. We're so lucky to have him. We got 2 brilliant fullbacks in Reece James and Gusto. His crossing ability is high. Is better than what I thought. He's quick. His defensive abilities maybe I would say on par with Reece James. So, but like you said, his shooting ability, James edges it on that side of things. But I'm really happy with him, and long may he continue. This is probably not his fault. His injury record is not great, but yeah, hopefully he.
That is true. That is the only unfortunate bit. We got this super other right back to replace Reece James constantly being injured. And his problem is he's also very often injured. But there you go. You give him a 7.5. I said 7. Dams, what would you give Gusto?
Yeah, I'd agree with Nation. Go with the 7.5 as well. I thought, Gusto was, by far best player tonight. I mean, you boys summed up pretty well, to be fair. The only thing I'm worried about with Gusto is maybe the protection he might get from managers playing him. Maybe I don't want another Reece James situation where we overplay him and he gets injured. So I definitely hope that we learn our lesson from last time with Reece James not to play him excessively and rush him back after coming back from injury. And obviously we'll see what he's saying tonight and stuff. But long may it continue with Gusto. I think we're blessed in that position. But yeah, just want us to be cautious with him at the same time because we don't want another Reece James situation with him. So even the cup game against Leeds, I'd probably want Chalobah to start that game at right back, to be honest.
I mean, again, bro, let's see if
So,
he's not injured now anyway.
and
So
obviously Gilchrist, you got Gilchrist as well, so Gilchrist can slot in there for the cup game. So cup games, even not the cup game in the final, but yeah, let's just hope he stays fit. That's the only thing that I pray for.
Absolutely. Kevin says he saw Reece James yesterday. Unless you were in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl. I'm not quite sure how that's possible because Reece James was in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl. So if you were there, fair play. But otherwise, you're waffling. Anyways, Dance, I'll let you go first. Caicedo, what you reckon?
It's a hard
yeah, what you
one.
reckon? It just keeps giving the ball away and then doesn't really do anything useful otherwise, I think. It's just like, I don't know. Go on.
It's hard. It's hard because you see really good moments of Caicedo where he wins the ball and sort of stops counterattacks, but at the same time, he gives the ball away and causes counterattacks and then wins the ball back again. So, really stuck with this one. Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen a better Caicedo in other games and stuff. I didn't think he was that great today. I thought he was just below average, so I'll probably give him a 5, I think, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. Honestly, probably even higher than I'd go, but 5 from you. Before I go to Naishi, apparently Kevin was in Vegas for the Super Bowl, so fair play. Did you have tickets? Like, were you in the stadium? If so, I hope you're a Chiefs fan, because if you're a 49ers fan and you paid crazy money to go to that game, you will be depressed. Anyways, Naishi, Caicedo, would you go along with a 5? Do you think it's a bit too high? Maybe a bit too low even? What do you think?
Yeah, I'll go with Marshall with 5. Yeah, I think he gives away the ball too much. He gave away
only 5 times, but he just does it in the wrong times every time.
And when he gives away the ball, it causes like a very dangerous counterattack or leads to a goal, which is a bit unfortunate. So yeah, I'll go along with a 5. It wasn't great today. It's one of his. He's probably had worse performances this season, which is kind of telling. But like as I said in previous streams, that I think he's got high potential. He's really got high potential, and I think he's finding his way this season. Hopefully next season he'll find his feet and he'll get more used to this position. So, but just purely on this game, a 5.
Fair dues. Now, there was this one moment I lost my shit in our group chat. Like, they were countering and he was trying to tackle it. I literally thought he had the ball. And all of a sudden he just didn't. And they continued counterattacking. And I'm just like, how are you a DM? Or even if some people will argue he's not really a DM, he's a box-to-box midfielder. Even if he is, he's a box-to-box midfielder that's supposed to be good at tackling. I don't know how he's so bad at tackling this season. It's utterly shocking. But I will say, going through the stats, right, you'll be shocked by a few of these stats. Passing accuracy, 95%, very strong. Long balls, 6 out of 7 successful. That's very good going. Tackles, 3 out of 4. Again, maybe it was just that one really bad tackle that was the only one he missed, or the stats are a bit skewed again. Ground duels, because usually he has terrible ground duel stats. Today, 6 out of 8. So stats-wise, probably the best game I've seen from him. In terms of looking at his stats, I don't think I've ever seen him have this good stats. So now I'm a little bit confused because, I mean, initially I said I'd maybe go even lower. Maybe that was a bit harsh. I don't know. Someone in the chat said he did pick up in the second half. Maybe that is fair, I guess. I think I'd probably go along with the 5. Maybe after seeing the stats, maybe me thinking maybe I was just a bit too harsh on him. But even if I gave him a 5.5 now, it doesn't change anything. So to keep it short and simple, I just stick with the 5. But yeah, the eye test was a bit worse than the stats today. And other times it's been the opposite. So it's just a continuation. They're young. They have a terrible manager. Maybe one day they'll have a good manager and we'll be less young, and then we'll see how great they can be. Enzo Fernandez scored that goal at the end. Honestly, I think a bit harsh that he didn't square it to Nkunku, but he scored it, so obviously I'm happy about it. Until then in the game, it's always a bit tricky with Enzo, because when he's so high, like in that, for example, that screenshot I brought up for Thiago Silva, when he's that high, it doesn't help anyone. And it's a bit difficult to know whether he does that on his own or whether it's Poch or it's a bit of both. I don't know, because there is moments when he drops deep and almost comes to left centre back or whatever and builds play. And when he does, it helps and it works. But then he goes up the pitch in other occasions. Like it's no problem if you drop deep and then you help us build and then you bring the ball up to the wing and then you push up. No problem. That's what a box-to-box midfielder is supposed to do. But don't be high from the get-go while the centre backs are trying to build up. That's useless. I'm not saying you have to be as deep as Caicedo, but you can't be as high as the Gallagher. Like that defeats the whole point. You as a box-to-box midfielder, you're supposed to create the connection, and he's sometimes doing that, sometimes not doing it. Now his passing, great. His goal, really good. Composure, phenomenal. Finish, top. But the positioning and how he's just, I don't know, executing his own job is just a bit strange sometimes. But stats-wise, 86% passing accuracy. Could be a bit better, but still decent, I guess. 10 out of 15 long balls attempted, a lot of them. 10 long balls in one game is crazy, to be honest. 4 out of 6 ground duels, can't complain about that too much. Because of his goal at the end, some people are going to say he was really, really good. But to me, he was also really, really poor in the first half. Like, for the first half, you could literally give the whole team, other than Gusto, like, no more than a 3 at a push. And that includes Enzo for me. And then for the second half, maybe you give him like a 7. So that still leads you to a 5 in total, if what I said now is, if I fully go by that. I'll give him a 6, but I don't think he should get higher. Maybe some people disagree, but I don't think he should get higher. Dams, what do you reckon for Enzo?
Yeah, you summed up pretty well, to be fair, bro. First off, I thought, I'm one of Enzo's biggest fans, to be fair, and I do like him a lot, but that first half he wasn't good. Part that, like you mentioned about position, he's literally like taking up left wing positions and like second striker positions, which obviously is down to the manager, not himself. But yeah, there was one thing I do like about Enzo, even though he does give away, like, he's quite wasteful with his passes, at least the intent's there to play that risk of a pass. Like, I'd rather him do that than say,
it's like the opposite of Thiago Silva in that sense.
Yeah, literally the opposite of Thiago Silva, who just plays it safe in a way, but obviously different positions we're talking about. But and I feel like a player like Gallagher wouldn't take those sort of risks. That's why a lot of people would sort of rate Gallagher more than Enzo Fernandez, because Gallagher just does a lot of the running, a lot of tackles, wins back possession, but then Enzo is more sort of complete as a footballer, like in terms of technical ability for me. So I don't think there's a single person in the world that disagrees with that statement, bro. Oh, bro, trust me, there are some people. Trust me, there are.
Nah, no one.
I know for a fact, bro. Trust me, you're not even Chelsea fans, so I just had to put that out there. But Enzo obviously took the goal quite well as well. I mean, if Kobe Bainu tried that goal, like the Man United fans keep banging on about, he probably falls over trying that goal. So, even Gallagher would as well. So, the goal was well coolly composed and taken. It's a shame he didn't square it to Nkunku. That would have been obviously the first goal he would have got without losing. So, I'd probably give Enzo, based on today, probably a 5.5. I know that might be a little.
You know what? Actually, I know he scored, but I shouldn't let that impact my rating too much, because it was a 3-1. It wasn't a goal that decided anything. I actually agree with you, 5.5. I would change my rating to a 5.5 as well. Nechi, what would you give Enzo? Are you maybe going to go back to the 6 now?
I think I might go back to the 6. Why I said that? I think he picked up in the second half. He definitely picked up. And,
he did. I agree.
But that first half, he was giving away a lot of balls. I counted at least 6, like, he wasteful balls. I don't know. He was just forcing it a lot in the first half. And as Dams mentioned, I do like that. I love the intention to keep trying things, make that progressive, make that killer pass. I do like that about in his game, but it was just too wasteful for my liking in the first half. And with the second half, he was getting into dangerous position. He was a lot more progressive, pushing up the ball. He was picking up the wide areas, which I love about him. So I know people might look at his progressive passes, but I love his switch of plays. He switches the play and really uses the full length of the pitch. That's what I really love about Enzo. And with the goals, it was an amazing goal. But I do prefer square ball. Do you know why? It just builds team morale. And I feel like the risk was too high to take himself, but he paid off. But I would have preferred him to square it in Nkunku, just to kind of, obviously he's our striker, and you want him to score goals, but you can't blame the man. He put it top in, so fair play to him. I'll give him a 6.
Fair dues. And unfortunately, I've now changed my mind. I don't want to be too flip-flop and change it again. So we will stick to the 5.5. Let's do Madueke first, shall we? This will be a quick one. Only played the first half. The main culprit for me at conceding the goal that we did concede, I'm not saying the only one at fault, like we touched on the Zazi. I think also Caicedo could have done a bit better on it. But the main culprit, we obviously played the check, and then Nation was speaking about Petrovic. But the main culprit for me is Madueke. And he also didn't do anything else particularly useful. If we're being really honest, he didn't do anything useful. Like at the beginning of the game, he tried to take players on, tried to play through balls, but then the connection, like the understanding wasn't quite there. It didn't really work out. I don't want to sit here and just give him a 0, but like I'm thinking like 2. Is that too harsh, Naishi? What do you think?
No, I would give him a 1. Honestly, I don't know what was happening. What happened to him today? He was just literally just off it, like, and there was multiple times where he lost the ball, and when he had possession of the ball, I count like at least 3 times, and that ball where I would blame more Noni with that goal we conceded than Caicedo. At least Caicedo tried to get him out of that situation. He almost gave him a half-hearted pass after spinning the player, and it just put Caicedo in a difficult position when he tried to dribble out, and he got injured. I don't know if he was faking the injury, but he got injured in that play. So I would go with a 1. Maybe I'm being too harsh. This was definitely his worst game, and I was happy that Pochettino took him off. I was calling for him to come off, to be honest. And
that's the weird part about Noni, isn't it? Because last game at Villa, he was so good, and then today he plays like this, and I know that's part of them being young players. That means that they're more likely to be inconsistent. But Madueke, it's almost the most inconsistent of them all, I feel like, at times, because you just don't know what you're going to get. You could get a world beater that takes on everyone, gets great assists, even scores a couple of good goals. Or he does things like today where there was even another moment, not even just where that led to the goal, where he's literally, the ball's bouncing in front of him, and he just stands there in the middle of the pitch trying to hold off the player, letting it bounce. And I'm like, just like, you have a head, you have a chest, you have a knee, just like play it forward, because all that happened is the guy ran around him, tried to hold him off with his arm, took the ball of him and they counted. And I'm like, bro, I know you're strong, but you need to be smart about it. You can't like hold someone off on your side while the ball is bouncing. Like you need to control the ball to hold someone off.
He didn't even track back on that moment, which you're talking about.
There you go. Yeah, maybe he did. Damesh in the private chat here is saying Fabrizio Romano put on his Instagram that Enzo essentially said, "I'm happy to be here. I will stay here. We want to play Champions League. We will fight. Blah blah blah." And I was like, "Where's he posted this? Not on his Instagram, not on his Twitter. Maybe he said it in an interview. That would make sense." Dams, a 1 and a 2 for Madueke. What would you give him?
Yeah, man, totally at fault for the goal. 100% on him. Yeah, even throughout the game, I didn't think he was good at all. And I think one of you said he's one of our most inconsistent players right now as well. So, which is a bit concerning, I guess. But I'll probably I might just stick with a 1.5 to be honest with you, bro. For Noni, I thought he was probably the worst player on the pitch tonight. I shouldn't start against City, to be honest with you.
No. Absolutely shouldn't. Tell me again, sorry, I was reading a different thing here, and my brain can't read and listen. Remind me, what was the rating you said?
I just stuck with a 1.5, bro, to be honest with you.
Fair dues.
Just stuck in the middle, yeah.
I like it. I want to keep Gallagher for a little longer, just to, finish it off on a high note. Nicholas Jackson. Now, the main thing Nicholas Jackson did today was getting booked for celebrating after he had been subbed off. Which on the one hand, I really rate the fact that obviously where the away end is a Palace, he came off from the bench, sprinted across the whole pitch as a player that's already been subbed off just to celebrate with the team, which is hilarious. But it means he's now only, 1 or 2 yellow cards away from a 2-game ban, because obviously he's already been banned for yellow cards earlier this season. So now he's probably going to get banned for 2 games. And bloody Broja is obviously out at Fulham, and our manager doesn't think Nkunku starts regularly. God knows why. But excuse me. So yeah, I don't really know. In terms of what he did on the pitch, I almost want to give him an NA, because he didn't really do anything. Today, he suffered the way often Mudryk did, when whoever plays on the left essentially never gets the ball. That's what it felt like. Like, how often did look at the Villa game, and how often did Jackson get the ball on that left side, taking their centre back there, right back on, doing step overs, trying to cross, trying to go for a shot. That didn't happen once today. Now, he was more central today as well than he was in that game against Villa. I think because of how deep Palace were, that was a bit pointless if he stayed out wide constantly. But I don't know. If I can't give him an NA, I'd probably give him a 5. Like, sure, you could say he didn't do anything, but my main issue was, to me, that he didn't get the ball. And for Mudryk, maybe we can complain about, he doesn't demand the ball enough and everything else. But we've seen months of proof that that's not a problem for Jackson. Like, Jackson will drop. Jackson will demand the ball. Jackson will try to link it up. He did have that wonderful back heel into the path of Palmer or Gusto, whoever it was. Unfortunately, we didn't score from it. But yeah, exactly what Max P in the chat said. But yeah, for me, he was just a bit of invisible part of the game today. So I'm gonna just give him a 5. But I can understand if people say something different. Neshi, what would you give Jackson?
Yeah, I'll go along with what you said. A 5. You hit like you just covered all the points I'm going to mention. Yeah, I didn't really notice him really, and as you said, you usually notice Jackson when he's in the game. He will drop deep, he will ask for the ball, receive the ball from deep areas and dribble. But like you said, he didn't receive the ball as much, and that might just kind of explain why Mudryk doesn't get the ball as much on that left side. I don't know why we have such an issue on the left side.
The only one that seems to get it is Sterling, but then Sterling doesn't do anything with it.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's where the experience comes into play with Sterling. Maybe he knows how to position himself to receive the ball. But I didn't really notice Jackson, if I'm being honest. As you said, when he celebrated, he just makes me laugh, though. He's hilarious. I find him so funny. Just thinking about it makes me laugh.
It's just so funny. Like, I've never seen a player do that. Like, obviously, if it's along the same touchline, sure. But I've never seen a player. Like, I know it was 91st minute, but I've never seen a sub sprint across the entirety of the pitch. But after the advertising board collapsed because the fans were half trying to get on the pitch, and he's just giving it. I absolutely love him from that perspective. Absolutely love him. Dams, would you go along with that 5 as well? Did you notice him maybe more than we did? Because to me, he was just, true, he did have a poor header, Joe. That is valid. But it was also a tough header, though. I just basically didn't notice him, in my opinion.
Bro, apart from that celebration, the only good thing he did was that back heel. That's the only good thing he did throughout the game in the second half, where I think I can't remember who passed it. Maybe Disasi passed it to straight into Jackson. He back heeled it. I think Gusto came onto it, and I was like, cross it to Nkunku, he's free. But then I think Gusto went sideways instead. But that's generally the only thing I remember Jackson doing the whole game. I mean, he was a bit confused whether he was playing as a winger or if he was playing up front, because there was times where Palmer would be on the left and then Jackson up front. This was mainly in the first half, but then they'd keep switching every sort of goal kick or set piece we had. It'd always end up either on the left or centre forward. It wasn't one set position. So I don't really know what to rate him, to be honest with you, because he didn't really do anything. I'll give him a 3, to be honest with you, because I don't think he was effective at all.
Fair. I mean,
and apart from that,
it's always really tricky for me to judge players when I feel like they're not really being involved in the game. It's always, on the one hand, obviously, I'm like, but get yourself involved. But if I know it's a player that does do that, how harsh can I be on them not being more effective? But I still get where you're coming from, I suppose. Overall, giving him a 4, and we move on. I know Palmer played up front, so we kind of have to do Gallagher first, but I don't care. Let's do Palmer. And on that note, 2 assists today as well. The last 2 for Gallagher for the 2-1 and also for Enzo Fernandez for the 3-1. And just to bring up a stat here, Cole Palmer's 2 assists tonight bring him up to 10 goals and 6 assists in the Premier League. He has 21 goals and assists in all competitions this season. You know how unbelievable that is? For a 21-year-old player that never played regular football. Like, obviously, he was educated by Pep and Man City, which does wonders. But in terms of regular football, he has even less than bloody, I don't know, Mudryk and stuff, who we always talk about. Oh, he doesn't have a lot of experience in senior football and everything else. Now, again, Mudryk was at Shakhtar Donetsk, very different to the environment of Man City in terms of the education that you get. But his stats are absolutely unbelievable. And what a player he is. Now, did he have the greatest game today? No. But I also felt he became way better second half as soon as he didn't have to be up front anymore. Please, I know against the top teams, maybe next week against City, against certain teams, I get it, for the press, for the interceptions, sure. But when it's about breaking the team down, please let him be as the number 10 or on the right. Don't play him as a striker, please. Like, it's, excuse me, so unnecessary. But yeah, big up Cole Palmer. I will, on the basis of today, because you got 2 assists and was not bad before. I'll give him. I don't want to go too high either, though. I'm thinking 6.5, but in comparison to Caicedo and Enzo and Silva and Dizazi, it almost feels a bit low. But again, we can't forget that we were dreadful for 91 minutes today, essentially. But then at the same time, he got the assist for the winner. He got the assist for the one that sealed it. I'm going to say 7. I don't care. I'm going to say 7. I know I gave Gusto a 7, but because you guys gave him a 7.5 anyway, I will give Palmer a 7. Big up yourself, Lewis. Appreciate it. Smash the likes, Ray Gang. Everybody that's joined from Lewis's stream, big up yourself. Dams, I'll let you go first. Is a 7 too high, you reckon, or am I being fair?
Yeah, give him with the 2 assists. I thought he got robbed off a 3rd assist, to be honest with you. I think there was a point, I can't remember what the score was. I think it must have been at 1-1, I think, because obviously we scored bloody early in the second half. But I think he took the ball down and he played a really good pass to Sterling, and Sterling tried
was
to.
That in the play? I didn't notice who played the pass, but yeah, it's a good pass.
Oh, it was Palmer, bro, because it's Palmer's probably the only person in our team that can make a pass like that. So he got robbed off a 3rd assist, to be honest with you. But definitely second half, that little tweak from Pochettino was helpful for him as well. He got a lot of freedom down that right side with Gusto as well. He was creating chances for us, to be fair, in the second half. And yeah, it was more the old Cole Palmer. But I don't want to see this guy play striker or centre forward again, man. It just doesn't work, to be honest with you. Unless we're playing against like a championship team, for example, like a League One, I think it'd work then. But against Premiership teams, I just don't think it works out. So, first half, I didn't think he wasn't good at all. First half,
yeah, I had to literally say, well, that's why I thought maybe the 7 is a tad high. But then again,
I'd go 6.5.
Okay,
6.5 for Palmer, because we all know what like how good he can be as well. We've seen better performances from him. So, and I think that's just what we demand from these kind of players when there's that expectation as well. So, yeah, I go with the 6.5. But hopefully against City, he doesn't play in that centre forward position.
I'm pretty sure he will, but yeah, we'll get to that. Again, I think again City could work a bit better because he's so good at pressing and intercepting. But then again, that's like true. Today, he can't really, because they sit so deep and we have all of the ball. When can he use that strength? Right, never. So. Yeah, we'll have to see. Just to make an interesting point here, Palmer is Mata-esque. Naishi, what do you make of that comparison?
I can see in the sense of technical ability, as
left-footed as well, I guess.
Yeah, I can see where he's coming from it, but in terms of style of play, I don't see similarities there.
No. Yeah. To me, he's still a bit like a Ziyech with City education.
Yes, I'd more kind of put him in the box of Ziyech, Mahrez type of player,
Yeah, with a hint of Havertz because he's obviously a bit taller than these other guys.
Yeah,
but
he's got a hunchback too. Like, I don't know. He's a lot tall. He's a lot taller.
Someone get him a posture corrector thing. He's doing a whole Danny Aaron. So someone help his posture, man. But there you go. A 6.5 and a 7 so far. What would you give Palmer today, bro?
I'll give him a 7. He had an average first half, and he made up for it in the second half. He was very productive in the second half, and I love especially that second assist for Enzo. That ball was weighted perfectly for Enzo, and he made the actual harder pass. The easier pass would have been to Nkunku, right in the yeah. So I was a bit surprised he chose the harder pass, and it was a brilliant pass. And the guy has a high potential. He's got a magical left foot. I love Palmer. He's my favorite player, out of the whole squad. And yeah, and as he said, you look at his stats: 21 goal contribution. That's amazing. He's not even talked about much in the media, which is a bit obvious because when it's a Chelsea player, they don't talk much about the player. But yeah, I'd go along with a 7 just because he made up for it in the second half.
Very good. Very, very good. Just quickly, Joel said Mata is less good than Cole, I think. I have a stat for you, and I don't have this prepared now to bring up, but only one player in history had more assists than Juan Mata in the 12-13 season. And that player is Lionel Messi in his 11-12 season. Only one player ever has more assists than Mata did in that season. Don't ever talk to me about anybody being better than Mata. Prime Mata, for us, is literally one of the best players we've ever had. Now, I know it was 1.5, 2 seasons where he was this level, but that season, very few players ever will get to that level, in my opinion. Like, that was a joke. And to that amount of assists, he had 17 goals or something ridiculous. It was obviously Europa League and Cup, I know. And we had the record number of games of anyone until that point in that season. I get it. But still, Mata is different. I thought so, Joe. But I thought so. But I feel like you're forgetting about quite how good Mata was back in that season, Joe. But each to their own, obviously. And let's finish it off. In terms of the starters, we'll quickly just rattle through the subs and the manager after. Conor Gallagher. Now, was he amazing outside of the goals? Maybe not. But what's a 2 set of finishes? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I said this at the beginning of the stream. The fact that he didn't have a single goal until we played Villa last Wednesday, and now by Monday the next week, he now has 3 goals. The first goal against Villa, super decisive. The equaliser and the 2-1 today, super decisive. Mate, I'm saying Gallagher scores 10 goals until the end of the season. Unbelievable. When Gallagher can, along with his pressing and his work and his tackling, and at least compared to last season, much improved on the ball. If he adds goals to that, mate, these haters, they will get so quiet, you will never hear them again. Like, it will be unbelievable. And I'm not saying he's the best player ever, and I'm not saying he should necessarily start every game. But I still find it utterly unbelievable that anyone thinks he shouldn't be in the squad. Now, I know for money reasons, different discussion. But it shouldn't be that Gallagher has to be sold because the owners spend way too much money on half terrible and injury-prone players. That shouldn't be the case in the first place. The fact that may be the only solution is a different problem, but it shouldn't be Gallagher that suffers from that. For me today, with those 2 goals, now someone says he was terrible in the first half. Mate, I know you keep saying that, but everyone was terrible in the first half. Every single player was terrible in that first half. Do I think Gallagher was a standout bad player in that first half? No, he was the only one that had a shot. Now, it took until the 46th minute, and he went off target, only ever so slightly, but still, he was the only one that even got close to scoring. He had 86% passing accuracy, 1 out of 3 dribbles, 2 out of 7 crosses, which you think is bad. That's better than all the other players. I'm just saying. Maybe Gusto. I need to check. Ground duels, okay, 4 out of 10. That could be a bit better. Aerial duels, 0 out of 3. That could be a bit better. What was the crossing stat for Gusto? Let me see it here. 3 out of 11. So actually, no. Gallagher did have the best crossing stats as well. I will give him, because of how decisive it was, I will give him an 8.5. I was tempted by 9, but maybe that's overdoing it a little bit. But yeah, with how decisive it was, 8.5 from me. Dams, what would you give him?
Yeah, I thought, outside the 2 goals, what was quite ineffective, to be honest with you. I mean, Gallagher does what he
But
does.
outside of the 2 goals was quite ineffective. How many games do you have a player score more than 2 goals?
Bro, this Chelsea Football Club, man. Trust me, we see Drogba,
When was the
Costa,
last
all
time
these
someone scored a
man.
hat-trick for us? Has anyone scored a hat-trick for us this season?
Jackson, Spurs away.
Oh, yeah, Jackson at Spurs. But he should have scored 6 that game.
The worst hat trick ever, but we'll
Yeah,
take
literally.
it. But yeah, honestly, outside the goals, first half wasn't great. Second half, bit better, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna be straight up. I'll give him a 7. I mean, yeah, thanks, well done for the 2 goals and stuff.
Less than Gusto, seriously. That's crazy. Okay,
yeah, I
fine.
honestly thought Gusto overall was a better player for tonight. For tonight's
No,
game.
I probably agree with that. But, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll give Gallagher a 7. Great finishes. I mean, he's finally found his shooting boots after 24 games. So
Fair dues. 7, you say? So a 7 and my 8.5. Neshi, what will you give Gallagher?
I get where Dom's is coming with outside the 2 goals. He was ineffective, but because how important those goals were
And
especially
how good they were as well. Like, they were good goals.
exactly, yeah. That especially that first goal, that ball was
Finish.
just literally, and it bounced just before it got to him, so it was almost
Great.
like a volley, and yeah, it was an amazing finish. And I'm happy he's got his shooting boots on these past few games. What is that? 3 goals in 2 games. That's amazing. And that first goal was important because it's just after the second half began, and he scored the winner. So I have to give him an 8. Just standard 8. He was man of the match just for those 2 goals. I know Gusto probably had a more impact on the game in the sense of general player, but those goals were so important and they won us the game. So I'll give him an 8.
Fair dues. Dams, and I know you need to go. The only thing I want to hear from you before you go is a rating for Mr. Pochettino. Give me that quickly. What would you give Poch in a day like today?
yeah, Pochettino today. Well, I mean, the first half was very, very questionable from Poch, and yeah, I tweaked it a little bit second half, but there's still a lot of criticism that I'm sure you guys will have. I'm sure a lot of fans online will have of Pochettino. It's completely justified. I mean, I still can't get over the way he set us up for that first half. I mean, this game before before the game started, I was looking at this game saying that this game should be done by half time because Palace are awful, honestly, and we honestly made it difficult for ourselves
You
with
always
the way
forget
we set up.
we are also awful. That's the problem.
But come on, but come on, we're not as bad as Palace though. Like generally, Palace we're not great, but Palace are bottom of the barrel. They're what, like 16th, 17th for a reason, and we're honestly not.
Yeah, we have 10 points more than them after tonight, which
Exactly,
could have
yeah,
easily been the other way around, right? So then it wouldn't
true,
be 10, then it would be 4.
Bro, Palace are pants. Honestly, they're so bad, and I just expected us to wipe the floor. That's like, for example, whenever we play Sheffield United next, I expect us to have that game wrapped up by half time because I know we're not great, but there's definitely teams worse than us. So, and Palace is definitely one of them. So, and yeah, I mean, Gallagher definitely got him out of jail today. So, yeah, let's see how he does in the next few games. We've got City, Brentford, then we've got Leeds, Arsenal, I think, as well in that run-in. Then obviously the big one, the final. And yeah, let's just hope we can win some of the fans over with that Carabao Cup win final. We'll see. I mean, it's a very big ask against a Liverpool team that are going to want to do it for Klopp. But yeah, if he wants to win back any trust from the fans, then he has to go out and get this Carabao Cup for us. And yeah, no excuses now. I mean, we've got most of our squad back, barring a few players. But what other team has like non-injuries basically? So yeah, my rating for Pochettino today would probably be. I'll probably give him a 4. Just with how the second half went for us in a way where he made a couple of changes. I thought the subs were good, I guess. They were okay. They were justified. I mean, obviously Gusto came off because we supposedly injured, came off of Gilchrist, but Raheem Sterling came off, which is expected. We did expect that, to be fair. I thought yes, Sterling was poor as well. So yeah, I mean, I'll give Poch a 4 just because of the change of some of the changes he made in the second half, and put Enzo next to Caicedo a little bit more, and we looked a bit more stable. And yeah, we ultimately won the game, so that's 2-2 now. Let's just hope we can build on it. To be honest with you.
Fair dues, Dams. I know you need to head off. We're going to wrap this up in a couple of seconds anyway. But Dams, thank you very much for your time. Next, we're going to finish this one off.
Big up, boys. Big up the chat. See ya.
Big up, Dams. Have a good night. Yeah, I'll chat to you soon, bro. What do you reckon, Neshi? A 4? Bit harsh? Do you reckon it's fair? By the way, someone in the chat said that apparently Gallagher covered 13 Ks as well, which is pretty good going. Apparently, there's no like link to it, but Sky showed it after the game. I wish that was a more common like stat to be shown around. I'm not saying it's the be all and end all stat, but additionally to other stats, passing stats, dribbling stats, defensive stats, additionally to that, I think distance covered does play a role. But what do you think about Poch today, bro?
Yeah, just to add, like and subscribe, guys. Who the people still watching? Yeah, you're nearly at 20k subs, so let's get to that number.
Big up.
And just on Pochettino, I think Dams was a bit harsh there. I was thinking a 6. I think he done, and his substitutions were good. They affected the game, which I haven't really seen him do much in the previous game. So,
which of the subs do you think affected the game the most? Because I would obviously Silva was a forced sub, Gusto was a forced sub. I don't think Nkunku did much. Sterling kind of only bottled it in front of goal. And then who was the last sub? And it was all of them. So
yeah, that's all.
You know what I mean? Like I get where it worked. We got better, but I'm not sure if the subs actually changed that much. If that makes sense.
To be fair, yeah, you do have a point there. He kind of was just forced into making the substitute. The Nani one.
Oh, we lost you for a second, mate. Just start speaking again. So good.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Just on the Nani one, that was kind of on his own back, really. That wasn't like a forced decision. Nani wasn't injured, so I was happy that he made the change straight off the halftime.
Yeah, I agree.
That was very decisive from him, and we haven't seen that much from him. So I'll go with a 6. And to be fair, Sterling did affect the game. I know he's not great, and I'm not the biggest fan of Sterling. He's the one who played into Palmer for the second goal for Gallagher, and then Palmer squared it back to Gallagher. So he did affect the game. Nkunku as well was involved in a few. And I think the attack flowed a lot better with Nkunku up top. But yeah, you'd made a good point about the rest of the substitutions were forced. So I'd go with a 6.
Yeah, fair dues. Overall, leaving us at a 5, which, believe me or not, was actually what I was going to give him even before we already ended up with a 6 with the other 2 ratings. It's a weird one because obviously, like I said, like you just touched on in terms of the subs were somewhat forced, right? But it's always a bit difficult. Like, was it the subs that changed it? Or was it just we were just more up for it in the second half? Like Poch said post game as well, that the way we played in the first half, we just cannot play like that. And he's right. And to be fair, we did equalize pretty much straight after halftime, which usually under Poch so far we kind of gotten worse after his halftime team talk. So I guess that is an improvement. So for me, the thing that he did well today was actually to whatever he said at halftime, I assume screaming at them to get them going for the second half. I think that was the biggest impact. I don't think Nkunku as an individual did that much to help the team. I don't think he set much up. I don't think he created much. Sure, he moves a bit better, but I think the main thing is someone else said it here. Min, I'm just going to call you Min. Shifting Palmer to the right. That was the most decisive thing for me. But the thing is, that's something that should have been the case from the start. Like Palmer shouldn't have been up front against a team like Palace, in my opinion. Like, because how is he going to be good against the low block? Like, he's not going to be a good striker in that. Put Jackson up front, put one of the wingers on the left, put Palmer on the right, and off you go. Like, don't make it difficult. Like, why? And then, yes, he fixed that own mistake, but I'm not going to give too much praise for fixing a mistake. If you did something good from the get-go, you get a lot of praise. But if you're only fixing what he did wrong first, then it's a bit... Nkunku scared Palace defense. All right, but do you know what I mean? Then next time, just turn up with a fucking clown mask and we'll scare the defenders as well. We don't need Nkunku for that. Do you know what I mean, mate? But I hear what you're saying. But yeah, if Poch for me gets a 5 today, I want him gone as quickly as possible. But he did. In the end, we won the game. And What I liked, by the way, and I know I'm a bit of a sucker for these things, but at least he actually celebrated, because 95% of the time, Poch, all he gives is a little fist bump. This time he actually seemed elated at the fact that we won a game. He was like jumping around, vamos, and all sorts of things. So from that perspective, hey, at least something. Just to quickly run through the subs as well, by the way, Coble, I thought he did good. I was really scared that he got injured there when he's kind of his ankle buckled after being pushed over. I'm still not 1,000% sure whether he's fine, because there wasn't long to go. He maybe just kept playing, so let's hope and see. Okay, good, Chris. There's not much to say. And yeah, we kind of touched on what we had to say on Sterling and Nkunku. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's been a long night for all of us. So let's wrap this up. Please do check out Naishi and Dams on Twitter down in the description below. Both of their Twitters are down there. While you're over there, check out my Twitter as well, as you can see on screen, last1507, or as well down in the description below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Thank you very, very much. When do we next play? We don't have a mid-weekend, do we?
I'm not sure. I haven't checked, to be honest. I think
I should probably check. Let's check quickly. We can figure this out. Before we leave this here, before we do the final outro, let's figure out when we next play. It's probably Saturday.
Weekend. Might be weekend, yeah, Man City.
Yes. Saturday, 5:30 against Man City. So that's fun. But yeah, we'll have a midweek without a game. We didn't have that in the last couple of weeks, to be fair. So interesting to see how this one goes. My confidence in going to City is very minimal. But hey, I guess if you have zero hope and confidence going into a game, it's more difficult to get disappointed. So I guess that is something. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.